bull or bear, using the bull or bear 1 ounce silver round that I got here, and let's see what she lands on. And she's a bull, and I'd have to agree with her. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Good evening. Hey, what's up, folks? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. Got a late one out for you tonight. Just wanted to get it done here. Meanwhile, got the live. I've never seen this camera before. I hope you enjoy it. Live cam spring break 2023 on Fort Lauderdale Beach cam here. Very mellow here in Broward County up in Fort Lauderdale. This is the elbow room, by the way, where the Connie Francis song "Where the Boys Are" in that movie. Gosh darn, I forgot what the movie was again. The name of the movie was taken place or supposedly filmed at in this area. And I got to tell you, as a teen and young adult, I partied amongst this area called the Fort Lauderdale Strip many times myself in the past. Meanwhile, the Strip has grown up quite a bit. I'm about 2 miles north of here. A lot of higher-end hotels, very expensive to stay in this area. Not quite the college environment or the college economic friendly environment that it once was when I was a kid. I mean, hotels are probably $300, $400, $500 a night. At one time, you could probably split a hotel with your buddy for $50 in one of the cheap hotels here. They've been torn down, all new places. A little history here, but meanwhile, that is the Elbow Room. Very cool, historic place here in South Florida. If you want to, make sure you Google and Wiki or whatever you like. The Elbow Room here, a pretty cool place. Many of famous people worldwide have probably partied in this area. And that includes central bankers and other people out here, and we're going to talk about them in a moment. Meanwhile, let me get into the quote of the day, which I made up myself. Hear myself patting myself on the back. Self-flattery is dangerous, folks. Remind me, any of you come in next time, make sure you smack me for doing that. But meanwhile, it is the quote of the day, and I kind of think this is a question that all of you ask yourself, and all of you think as well. And something that you would ask a friend of yours or somebody that you knew. Don't you find it concerning that a small amount of people control a large amount of our economic well-being? Question mark. Of course, if you listen to my videos and you're on the same page as I am, I'm talking about central bankers, I'm talking about policy planners in the U.S. government and the Treasury Department and the people that control them. Are control of our economic well-being. Well, you ask yourself, well, they're not in control of my economic well-being. Well, they certainly are. They control the dollars that are in our pockets, that we pay our bills with, that we put our kids through colleges, that we take care of our parents with, that our parents take care of us, whatever it may be. That's what they fuck with, folks. And there goes all my views for the night. Meanwhile, sorry about that. But it's not the free market as it should be in a free market capitalistic economic system. I mean, in a free market economic capitalistic system, and I'm going to kind of just, kind of elaborate on what I'm talking about here. A free market economic system involves in supply and demand, true supply and demand, whether that's product or services, what I'm willing to pay, not what things are dictated to be, or not which things are taxed so heavily that they're so priced out of the market, and again, or centralized planning in any way, shape, or form. And that's what we got today. We got centralized planning. We don't have free marketplaces, folks. We have a crony capitalistic system that where our government deals with the biggest players out there, that tells them what to do to make them the most money, and still seem like we're still in a somewhat democratic society. But I digress here. I can go down so many rabbits here. And as I said here, the truth is what we have become as an economy driven by centralized policymakers that are always wrong at best, and at worst they're complicit in destroying our wealth. And you see this all the time in standard of living, and they capitalize from it as well, because I got to tell you, whether it's the presidents out there, the congressmen, the senators that work in our countries, whether it's Janet Yellen, Powell, Volcker, or any of the people that have worked in the government agencies, that dictate policy. None of them are ever going to miss a meal. None of them are ever going to be standing on a corner somewhere with a sign saying, hey, we'll work for food. None of them are ever going to be having to worry about whether they have to stack some more silver or more gold. But meanwhile, I digress. And I don't want to sound like an angry old man by coming up with these quotes, but that's the truth, folks. Meanwhile, when you live in an economy, in a world that's driven and basically controlled by a handful of people, what's your best bet? Well, your best bet is to do the same thing that people have done over centuries and centuries. And remember, folks, the Federal Reserve people, if anyone thinks that they're the saviors, they're the smartest people out there, they're, you know, that's questionable. I mean, when you look at Janet Yellen with that clueless look on her face when one of the senators asked her how the contagion could happen with the banks failing out there, you know, I'm hoping that these people are smarter than they look. Volcker and all these people in these economic, maybe they're not. But meanwhile, the facts speak for themselves, and the facts are that our currency has been failing since these central planners and bankers, central bankers, have taken over in 1913, you know, when they took us off the gold standard. Now, this little pump up right here in the U.S. Consumer CPI buying power of the dollar was pumped up only because FDR robbed United States citizens of their gold, and he repriced the price, the official price of gold, at a higher level, and that's why you see the dollar's buying power go up right there. Nothing more. Not because a fiat dollar became worth more or anything else, or FDR was some brilliant guy, just because he robbed from the from the American public, took their gold away from them, and repriced at a higher level. That's why the buying power of the dollar went up. But it was just downhill from there, and we all know it. And it's even worse. I mean, take a look at the one-year chart. Boom, man, this is like Biden's administration. But if you think this current administration is fiscally conservative, oh, fuck. Take some more acid, man, or something, whatever it is you're taking out there. But meanwhile, what does this all mean for us, folks? It just means that these prices are stupid ridiculous. And why are they stupid ridiculous? Again, a mantra I repeat over and over is because we're dealing with the Crimex group, the CME group, where the price discovery for gold, silver, and platinum are made. Why we see these stupid, ridiculously low prices on gold, silver, and platinum. And you ask yourself, well, why do I want to play in a ridiculously manipulated market of derivatives run by a bunch of crooks? Well, I tell you why you want to play in that market. It's just like playing in a market where you could buy gasoline or lobster or some other great commodity on the super cheap. The manipulative behavior happening in the gold, silver, and platinum market is on the downside. And if you're going to benefit from any kind of manipulation, it's always benefiting. You're always better to benefit from the manipulators dropping the price of a commodity or dropping the price of a product so low that you can buy it. A storable product, and a product that is like gold, silver, and platinum. It's been around for thousands of years. Well, maybe not platinum, but gold and silver. But meanwhile, these prices are super cheap, folks. I mean, I think platinum should be way over the price it is right now. Silver should be at least $50 an ounce. Gold should be at least $2,500 an ounce. Meanwhile, I get it. I'm loaded up. Are you loaded up? I'm not quite sure. Well, I'm going to get into that in a moment here, whether we're loaded up or not, because prices right now, premiums are starting to go up. It looks like prices across the board are going up. $19.70, $128, $23 silver and platinum at $9.88. And again, you've got to ask yourself, why do I want to play this market? Why is this market's rigged, Brian? I don't want to play this. Of course some markets are rigged. Everything in our life is rigged, folks. But if you don't play, you can't win. And you have an opportunity to buy these commodities on the super cheap at these levels. Premiums are going up. I'm going to get into that in a moment right here. So let's talk about premiums. Prices of gold, silver, and platinum. Again, buyer's market, not a seller's market. I love the opportunity to buy at these low prices right now, because I think at some time we're going to have a bigger oh shit morning than we did last week with gold up $100. Well, it's Wednesday, and it's let's make some money day, folks. I just randomly found this meme right here. I hope you don't mind it. Makeameme.org. Thank you very much for that. And what I'm talking about is you can do some trades right now, folks. If you live in South Florida, you can come by and see me. I can do this trade for you. And if you don't live in South Florida, I recommend that you visit your local dealer, because if you get 90%, another great opportunity, just like it was with Silver Eagles. And hang on, let me take a look at Silver Eagles here. Silver Schneegles. Where are Silver Schneegles here on my little cheat sheet? Yeah, Silver Eagles too, man. All right. If you own 90% silver or Silver Eagles, I will pay you, and I'm hoping that you can find a local dealer that you can get the same deal with. I will pay you the silver price plus $5.50 per ounce. So on Silver Eagles, if you come into my store and you have nice fresh rolls, I'll pay you the spot price plus $5.50 per ounce. Now, by the way, don't mistake this, and 90%, I'm going to get into that in a moment. Don't mistake this with me advising you to buy 90% or Silver Eagles. I think Silver Eagles and 90% are too much money right now. What I'm telling you right now is an opportunity to take your 90% and your Silver Eagles and turn it into more silver, more money in your pocket in the long term, okay? So right now, I would pay my customers spot plus $5.50 for Silver Eagles. I would pay my customers spot plus $4 per ounce on 90% silver coins. I'm making about $1 an ounce on the wholesale market. If I'm able to retail that, I'll make more, but I'm not comfortable retailing these products at these levels. I talk my customers out of it. This is why I'm trying to talk you into selling 90% and Silver Eagles right now. Let me type in Silver Eagles to give you a visual, because again, think about this. I'll pay you spot plus $5.50 on Silver Eagles right now, easily, in any quantities. In larger quantities, I'd probably even pay you more, especially if you got sealed boxes. I'd pay you even more than that on Silver Eagles. And 90% silver coins, which I just showed you right here, the visual of, I'll pay you spot plus $4, all right? And you're saying, bro, Brian, I don't really want to sell this stuff. I mean, that's, you know, that's a really good premium that you're willing to pay me on this. And I realize that you're telling me not to pay this, not to buy any more 90% in Silver Eagles, and absolutely telling you guys, don't buy Silver Eagles or 90% right now, okay? It's overpriced. You're going to pay a stupid premium for it. What I am advising you guys out there that have it is just sell it, because you can get a good premium for it. And the fact that you're getting spot plus $5.50 for Silver Eagles in any quantity, and spot plus $4 on 90%, you're asking me, well, why is that beneficial? I gotta own some silver. What am I going to own instead? Well, you know what you can do is I will sell you. Think about this. Think about the amount per ounce that you can make. I will sell you kilo bars right now at spot plus. Well, hang on, let me take a look at the 100-ounce bars. Now let's take the kilos. Spot plus $2.35 per ounce. All right. So you sell me your 90% silver at spot plus $4, and I sell you kilo bars at spot plus $2.35. You just made $1.65 per ounce. Okay. On 100 ounces, you just made $165. That you could take that $165 and buy what? More, let me do a quick mathy here. You could buy 6 more ounces of silver for every 100 ounces of silver that you got, and even more for Silver Eagles. Do the trade. Don't buy 90%. Don't buy Silver Eagles. If you have them, my recommendation is trade them. And again, there's going to be guys out there who are going to say, well, you know, 90% is rare for a reason, or I'm going to use it for trade. You know, you're never going to use this stuff for trade, folks. I can't tell you how many times that you're never going to use this for trade. Do you really think that the local clerk at the local grocery store, even if Publix is not around, or Winn-Dixie or whatever, Piggly Wiggly or whatever store you guys deal with out there is not around, you think they're going to take silver or gold for trade? No, they're not. They're going to take dollars. And it may take a wheelbarrow full of them, wheelbarrow full of them. Remember, remember that German marks, a wheelbarrow full, to buy a loaf of bread. But that's what you'll be using. You will not be using silver and gold coins. There's no good excuse to own silver eagles nor 90%, especially when you can make that great trade and trade them for a kilo of silver bars. Again, you can put for every 100 ounces of silver, 90% that you trade in, you can put 6 ounces of silver in your pocket. I think I said, where was it, silver eagles, but no less. Great trade right now that you can make. I've told you guys about this a few times. A few of you guys out there have made this trade. You got to have at least 100 or 200 ounces to make it worthwhile to do this trade as well, folks. So remember that as well. Remember that. And I'll do this trade with you right now. Premiums are very much in your favor, and some guys are going to say, well, why do you want the silver eagles, and why do you want 90%? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blow out those silver eagles to a dealer for spot plus $1 more than what I offered you, $6.50. I'm going to blow out that 90% for spot plus $5, and I'm going to buy back this stuff right here myself. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. Well, meanwhile, what's the best deal out there with gold? Definitely Valcombi Swiss bars, spot plus $70. Gold eagles are still spot plus 110 or spot plus $115. Gold's, been very easy, more reasonable and easier to get than silver. Silver premiums are starting to go up across the board. And when I look at the gold sheet that we write up for ourselves here at Commercial Rare Coins on a weekly basis, gold premiums haven't changed much. Gold products are still generally available out there at a reasonable premium. And just because the premiums aren't high doesn't mean that, you shouldn't buy gold. I mean, that it's not desirable and stuff like that. And why I'm saying that is because silver premiums are just crazy on so many products, and people are buying silver like crazy. But gold is still a great deal, folks, out there. Make sure you kind of diversify your holdings out there between gold and silver, and that's just my opinion. All right, well, let's get into what's going on out there as far as the world and all kinds of oh my gosh. Here, let me get a quick sip. It's been a long day for me. I work like 2 jobs now, folks, trust me. 3 if you count these videos. Well, I'm not looking for pity. All right. Zero Hedge, I like this site right here, only because it's like it doesn't feed you the spin. You can make your own determination whether it's bullshit or not, whether it's spun or not. But I'm just so sick of reading other stuff. Yellen pulls the rug out from Powell's dovish promises. Gold gains as banks bust. I think that's a darn good article you can read for free on Zero Hedge. All kinds of stuff going out there, folks, that really. Oh man, don't get me down rabbit holes like this. Obviously, I'm a big Second Amendment proponent. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, but these folks, that's what I talked about right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. Don't you find it concerning that a small amount of people control a large amount of mine and your economic being? And who appoints these people to do that? Well, we kind of know who does. Let's take a look at that right there. That's who. That doesn't worry you a little bit? It worries me, man. Well, okay. You know what? I skipped a night last night. I didn't do a video last night. I was kind of tired, and I said I would follow up with some stuff that I talked about with the chat openai.com program here. On an interesting conversation I had on my last video. If you didn't see it, watch the last video and you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. I didn't discuss it all. I said I'd do kind of a part 2 of that. And let me finish up right here with part 2. And here, let me catch up with myself even. United States Gold Reserve. Oh boy, here, I think I actually went too high here. And here we go. I want to go up to here. Sorry about that, folks. I had this already set up and then I kind of screwed it up. Is that where I ended on Wednesday night, or I'm sorry, Monday night when I did the video? Okay. I went into what we actually owned. I'm going to go back a little bit earlier here. The AI says that the current U.S. debt is approximately 28.7 trillion. In my last video, I talked about what, when you have debt, okay, and the dollar is backed by the promise of the United States government that we can pay that debt back, whether it's through taxes or whatever it may be, collateral we may have. All right, it doesn't say specifically what, but it mostly infers taxes in the United States government's assets, okay? So we have $28.7 trillion that the current U.S. debt is in. I mean, it's basic math, folks. Follow me with this, all right? When I went back and I was talking about in the last video that the U.S. Geological Survey says that we have about $6.2 trillion in ground of assets, commodities, whether it's rare earth metals, uranium, gold, silver, and platinum. And you can see I asked what is the estimated value of minerals on the government land. And I also asked what the government land is worth itself, 1.6 trillion. If you were just to sell it to average home builders or whatever, it's worth 1.6 trillion or so. And again, I asked about what our gold was worth here, and as most of you know, it's worth less than half a trillion, 517 billion dollars based on current 261 million ounces that we're known to hold. So what does that mean, really? It means that out of all the assets that the United States government owns, what the land, all the mineral rights in the land, and like I said, the land itself, all the gold that we own in Fort Knox, equal far less than what our actual debt is, okay? And our tax income, the amount of tax that we're going to be getting in. Remember, folks, the baby boomers are dying. The income earners are dying, and they're not being born. There's not more of them, there's less of them. So there's going to be less taxes out there, which means that the U.S. dollar is going to not have as much taxes. So follow me here. With the world central banks becoming... give me 1 second here. Let me see here. I get a little ahead of myself one time. And I asked, if current spending does not change and our economic leaders do not change, how are we going to handle debt? How long will it take to pay that debt, and who will pay it? And AI, again, I like this AI, garbage in, garbage out. It seems to lean to the liberal side a little bit, but it does come up with some real nuggets here, and I like the answers. Because again, the answer is going to be derived on the same data that you and AI is deriving its data and information from the same place that you and I would typically look for if we spent a day doing it, but it does it much faster. That's why I like talking to this AI program. It hands me data that I would be searching for online, but much faster than I can, and presents it in a good format when I ask the questions. And again, that's why I've kind of been doing these little Q&As here with you guys. So AI says it's important to note that predicting the future trajectory of the U.S. debt is a complex issue that depends on various factors as economic growth, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't have the ability to predict. That's the typical caveat or, warning that, hey, anyway, that's built into the system. AI says, however, I can provide some general information on how the U.S. debt is typically financed and managed. The U.S. government finances its debt through the sale of Treasury securities, such as Treasury bonds, notes, and bills. These securities are sold to investors, including individuals, corporations, and foreign governments, who lend money to the U.S. government in exchange for interest payments over a set period of time. In theory, the U.S. government could eventually pay off its debt by reducing spending. And again, this is true. I mean, none of us are going to argue with this, and I like that. That AI comes up with some little nuggets here that are truthful. We could, if we reduced our spending and we actually kind of cut things down dramatically. But let me move along here, what AI says, or both, increasing tax revenues, or both. I don't necessarily agree with tax revenues, because we're going to get into that in a moment, and I think AI talks about tax revenues and increasing tax revenues as well. So AI says here, however, the political and economic challenge of doing so are significant, and the U.S. government has historically managed its debt by balancing the cost of borrowing against the benefits of government spending and economic growth. In terms of who pays the U.S. debt, the burden is shared by a variety of stakeholders: U.S. taxpayers, investors who own Treasury securities, i.e. other governments, other central banks. And if you think about the BRICS countries, they are selling treasuries, getting rid of treasuries. They're not buying them. But again, I digress. And foreign governments, oh, well, there you go, that hold U.S. debt. The impact of the U.S. debt on these stakeholders can vary depending on factors such as blah, 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 blah. All right, so I asked it right here. Let me take a sip here because my mouth is a bit dry. And yes, I am sitting in my store right now. I've not left work. Again, this is my third job. When I'm done here, I'm going home, eating something, and going to enjoy my evening. So I asked right here, with the world central banks becoming sellers of U.S. debt, what happens if there becomes more sellers of U.S. treasuries and U.S. debt than buyers, providing the Fed does not buy them? And that's a pretty easy question to understand. You know, if no one's buying treasuries and the Fed stops buying, what happens? So AI answers, if there were to be more sellers of U.S. treasuries and U.S. debt than buyers, this could lead to several potential consequences of the U.S. economy and financial markets. First, a decrease in demand for U.S. treasuries could lead to an increase in interest rates. And I'm going to stop here for a second, folks. You know, this is long-winded and kind of boring to some degree, and this is getting into the nuts and bolts of what's happening with treasuries and where our economy is heading. But what does it have to do with the price of gold and silver? Everything. Because, you know, again, the U.S. dollar is based on, you know, a fiat currency, and the U.S. dollar is kind of in a downward trend in its buying power. And as it is, gold and silver and platinum has been a great storage of wealth for a long time, wealth preservation. Okay. I don't know why I felt like I needed to throw that in there, but I did. But higher interest rates then could have a ripple effect through the economy, affecting everything from mortgage rates to corporate borrowing costs to consumer spending. That was just the ADD part of me that just sidetracked there real quick. But I just kind of want to remind you folks why we're talking about what represents real wealth out there and what doesn't represent real wealth. You know, if the BRICS countries out there, if the countries like Russia and India and Brazil and China and Turkey and Saudi Arabia and South America and Central American countries, they're getting rid of treasuries, they're getting rid of bonds. What are they building their accounts up with? They're building their accounts up with gold, folks. And again, that's the whole point of me talking about this stuff. All right, so. Before I make this video another hour longer, let me continue here with my conversation with AI. Second, AI says, if foreign governments and investors were to significantly reduce their holdings of U.S. debt, let me add in they are, this could have implications for the value of the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is widely used as reserve currency around the world. Now we're getting into some real meat here, folks. And a decrease in demand for U.S. treasuries could lead to a decrease in demand for a dollar, potentially leading to a depreciation of currency relative to other currencies. This is when currencies all over the world, U.S. dollars all over the world, start flooding back to us, folks, which means more money, less demand for money, more to money, less product, inflation. So, you know, this inflation battle that the Fed is fighting right now, they lost. They lost a long time ago. But again, I digress. Let me move along from here. Third, if the markets for U.S. treasuries were to become significantly imbalanced, it could lead to increased volatility in financial markets. Ooh. And potential flight to safety isn't. I don't know why it said third if. Third, what is currently happening is what the AI should have said, is that the market for U.S. treasuries are becoming significantly imbalanced. It is leading to increased volatility in financial markets and potential flight safety, not potential, but flight safety, as investors are seeking out safe haven assets. AI got it kind of right, but what it's saying is that it's not if AI, it's happening now. The markets for treasuries are becoming imbalanced. It is leading to increase in volatility. Interestingly enough, great answer, just kind of off on its response. The AI is not understanding that this is actually happening now. Okay, let me move on. It's worth noting, however, the U.S. Federal Reserve has the ability to buy U.S. Treasuries as part of its monetary tools And of course, we all know that, but we also know that the Federal Reserve is not wanting to buy. I don't know why that AI brought this up, but the Federal Reserve is trying to unwind these treasuries. They're trying to unwind these assets that they bought all these years, not buy more. They're in trouble here. They're in an inflationary problem here, but AI doesn't quite get this, and doesn't quite get that this is actually happening. And AI says this could potentially help stabilize markets for U.S., but it's not going to stabilize markets. The Fed is between a rock and a hard place right now. They can't continue to buy. They got to unwind. They got to tighten. If they don't, we're going to have massive inflation. So what's it going to be? Massive inflation or lower interest rates and quantitative tightening? It's going to be massive inflation, folks. We already see this. Even if they tighten up a little bit, which is a real joke, we're looking at massive inflation here. So I ask, what are the consequences of the Fed buying U.S. debt and treasuries, and could this bankrupt the Fed? Good question. What do you think? AI answers, the consequences of the Fed buying U.S. debt and treasuries, also known as quantitative easing, can be complex and depends on various factors, including the specific economic conditions at the time of implementation, the size and duration of the QE program, and the public's expectations of future monetary policy as well. Some potential consequences of QE include lowering long-term interest rates by buying U.S. debt and treasuries. The Fed increases demand for these securities and drives down their yields, i.e., the reason that we've seen these big banks collapse recently, or the reason that we saw Signature and Republic take a big shit, the reason that we're seeing that in a different kind of weird circumstance, that we're seeing that the Swiss credit is taking a giant shit. But meanwhile, let me continue here. AI correctly points out this can lead to lower borrowing costs for consumers and business. Okay, hang on. Oh my God. Consequences can lead to lower borrowing costs for consumers and business, which can stimulate economic growth, but which also stimulate inflation. Okay, I got ahead of myself here. Expanding the money supply. When the Fed buys U.S. debt and treasury, it effectively injects new money in the Fed. This can increase money supply and potentially lead to inflation if the economy is already operating at near or full capacity. Now, again, AI assumes that this hasn't happened already, but this is exactly what is happening right now, folks. They have increased the money supply, and it has led to inflation, and it has led to an economy that's operating at not near capacity, at full capacity. So this has already happened. This is past tense. AI doesn't quite get that yet, that this is past tense. Number 3, it says increasing the Fed's balance sheet. As the Fed buys U.S. debt and treasuries, it adds these securities to its balance sheet. If the Fed buys a large amount of securities, its balance sheet can become quite large. And again, that's exactly what we've seen here happen, folks. The Fed's balance sheet is absolutely off the hook, absolutely crazy. And what they've been trying to do is unwind these assets and tighten up things so that we don't see massive inflation, which is a major killer. Hyperinflation is a killer for any currency out there, including the U.S. dollar, and that's what they're trying to protect. Wow. My throat is getting sore here. Man, I got a little bit left in this glass here. One sec. Wow, that barely wet my tongue. All right, we're getting close here. And so here's the question I ask. What does the full faith and credit of the U.S. government mean? What is the U.S. government's collateral in this agreement with the Fed? Because the AI mentioned that the dollar and that the Treasury and the dollar and the federal government is backed by the full faith and the credit of the U.S. government. And what I assume that meant is the full faith is that we believe that the government has everything backed up. And when you think of backed up, you think of collateralized to some degree. And when we think of collateralized, of course, in the fiat currency and the fiat world and the tax world that we live in, collateralized would mean taxes that's been pointed out. So, the U.S. government's backed by taxes that they can tax us with, and also backed by gold and the land and the resources that the U.S. government owns, okay? But I asked, what is the full faith and credit of the U.S. government mean? What is the U.S. government's collateral in this agreement with the Fed? That's an important question to ask because the U.S. government does have an agreement with the Fed that we back with the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. What does that mean? What does the full faith and the credit of the U.S. government mean? So here's what AI answers me. The phrase full faith and credit to the U.S. government refers to the U.S. government's committing to honoring its financial obligations, including the payment of its debts. This phrase is often used in reference to the U.S. government's ability to repay its debt obligations, including Treasury bonds and bills. The U.S. government's collateral in this agreement with the U.S. Fed is Treasury securities. Okay, we know that the Fed's been buying Treasuries for quite some time, but what are Treasuries backed by? Think about that. Treasuries are only backed by the full faith of the U.S. government. What is the full faith of the U.S. government backed by? Again, my thinking is that it's backed by our assets in this country, which include our taxable assets. Our assets would also include our land, our mineral rights, and whatever physical assets our U.S. government owns. All right, that's what I would think that our assets are included. That the Treasury assumes that it's receiving in lieu of printing money for us. But again, I digress here. When the government needs to borrow money to finance its operations, it issues treasuries that are purchased by investors, including the Fed. These securities serve as collateral for loans that our government receives, and government is obligated to repay the loans and interest. In fact, the U.S. government's ability to issue and repay its debt obligation is backed by its ability to, very important folks, tax its citizens, control its monetary policy, and including the ability to print new money. None of this is comfortable here, folks. That is not collateral. Collateral is not being ability to tax your citizens. So more or less, the Fed is bankrupt. The Fed, if the U.S. government goes bankrupt, what can they give the Fed in trade for their U.S. dollars? For their nothing. Nothing. We don't own anything. We can't repay anything. There's nothing to repay for a U.S. dollar. There's no, there's half a trillion dollars in gold in Fort Knox. There's $1.6 trillion in federal land. There's $6 trillion in mineral rights in the U.S. This is far less than the $26 trillion that we owe. Okay, so you kind of get where I'm going right here. This gives investors confidence in the U.S. government. Oh, AI, such a child, so stupid. In confidence, all right? The AI doesn't know what it said. It said all this stuff, not realizing what it really said, okay? That's the problem with AI. Anyway, I asked, what is the problems associated with our government's, as you say, ability to tax the citizens and control over monetary policy, which includes the ability to print new money? So basically, I was asking, AI said that the government considers one of its assets its ability to tax and control monetary policy and to print new money. So I asked AI, how does this give people confidence? And are treasuries considered among the safest investments in the world? And AI answers me, there are several potential problems associated with the U.S. government's ability to tax its citizens and control monetary policy, including the ability to print new money. These are, number one, and again, it's based on the data that you and I have available to us, but it gets it instantly, and it says here, inflation. Of course, we know this. One potential problem is that if government prints too much money, it can lead to inflation. It will not can, it is, it has. This occurs when there's too much money, and I should say this is occurring because there's too much money chasing too few goods and services, leading to an increase in prices. This can erode the value of currency and lead to higher prices for consumers. Political instability, folks. We're having political instability. This is absolutely correct here. Tax can subject to political instability. Changes in political leadership or shifts in political power can lead to changes in tax policies or monetary policies, which can impact the economy and financial markets. While all dead true, and pardon me, folks, this has been a long one, but I kind of wanted to finish up and go through this. I thought you'd find this interesting as well. AI also says debt sustainability. The government's ability to repay its debt is also subject to concerns about debt sustainability. If the government continues to borrow and accumulate debt without a corresponding increase in economic growth or revenue, it can lead to concerns about its ability. And folks, this is exactly what we have going on. This is not if, it says if here. That's the problem with AI. It keeps saying if. AI would be dead on correct. It says what we have going on is debt insustainability. The government doesn't have the ability to repay its debt. But again, that's garbage in, garbage out. AI is kind of on the optimistic side, thinking that we're not into this problem right now, and we really are. And number 4, unequal burden of taxation. The government's ability to tax citizens can also be subject to concerns about the unequal burden of taxation. If the tax system is not designed in a fair, equitable, blah, 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 fuck tax, excuse me, but I have to disagree with that totally. Wow, man. I've got a couple more here to go here. Woo, jeepers, 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 man. I've got a long one to go here. Well, I told you I was going to finish up with this, so we will. You can fast forward if you want, but meanwhile, here I go. And I ask, what if treasuries and U.S. debt become worth less and less and become a B-rated asset? I asked AI this. Or would it be a Tier 2 asset? And what if no one wants to buy, even the Fed, our treasuries and U.S. bonds and stuff, and then add unemployment and a bad economy to it? Then how would the United States government survive? And the AI says if U.S. treasuries, and I think this is realistic, and debt were to become less valuable and no one wanted to buy them, including the Fed, and that's what we got going on with the Fed right now. The Fed doesn't want to buy more U.S. debt, folks. They want to unwind that debt, okay? But I digress. Let me finish up with this. It would indicate a loss of confidence in the U.S. government's ability to repay its debts. This could lead to higher interest rates on U.S. debts, making it more expensive for government to borrow money to finance its operation. Duh. In addition, if the U.S. government were to experience a period of high unemployment and weak economy, this could further erode confidence in the government's ability to manage its finances. Folks, this is like done and passed with, all right? I'm sorry. But here, let me continue. If the situation were to deteriorate to a point where the U.S. government was unable to sell its debt, I think is where we are, or we're going to be here very soon, it could face a funding crisis that could make it difficult or impossible to meet its financial obligations, including payments to its creditors, government employees, and beneficiaries of government programs. In the worst case scenario, the U.S. government could default on its debt. Again, folks, that's where we're going, obviously. I believe that in my heart, and AI says that right there, but not recognizing that is actually where we're going. To prevent this scenario from occurring, I think this is interesting, AI mentions this, the U.S. government would need to take steps to restore confidence in the ability to manage the finance and repay its debts. This could involve implementing policies to address unemployment, strengthen the economy, as well as implementing fiscal and monetary policy to address concerns about debt sustainability and inflation. It may also involve negotiating with creditors to restructure debt payments. While I agree with most of this, I think what the AI is missing here is that the best thing governments can do is step out of the way. The best thing governments can do is downsize themselves, decrease the amount that they're spending overall across the board, let the states handle it. There's so many things here. Again, garbage in, garbage out. But I find this conversation very interesting. And so I ask AI, would downsizing the size of the federal government and military spending substantially be helpful as well? And AI says reducing the size of federal government and military spending could potentially help address concerns about U.S. government's ability to manage its finances and repay its debts. And, I think the important debts that we owe right now are Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid out there, folks. But let me move along here. However, the impact of such actions on overall economy and financial systems would depend on specific policies and approaches taken. My answer was kind of, broad-based and small. There's so many factors involved, and AI did point that out. So AI says, in general, reducing the size of the federal government could reduce, and I don't think it could. I think it would help reduce government spending and borrowing, which would help address concerns about debt sustainability. However, this could lead to reductions in government services and programs. Folks, as long as they maintain payment to our veterans, service to our veterans, as long as they maintain service to our seniors, which they paid into, and our defense to some degree, not being policemen of the world, but our defense, I think we could tighten our budget up substantially and survive all this, but we would need the right administration in there to do that. I digress again. Similarly, AI says similarly, God, I'm getting tired. Reducing military spending could reduce government spending and borrowing, but it could also impact national security and defense capabilities, blah, blah, blah. Broader implications for global political and blah, 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 blah. Again, that's the, I think what you're listening to right here from AI is the war hawk narrative that is in the internet out there, that is important to have a strong military out there and that we need to bully people out there. But again, I digress. I'm going into a completely different area. AI says ultimately the most effective approach to addressing concerns about U.S. government ability to manage its finances and repay its debts will depend on a range of factors, including current economic and financial conditions, political considerations, and the preferences and priorities of blah, blah, blah. Wow, man, I didn't know this was going to be so long, folks. Sorry. I'm glad you're still with me if you are. And for those of you that are sleeping right now, sweet dreams. And I did ask a question here, and I think we're getting really to the bottom here, hopefully, and we are. Last question. Other than enforcing laws, punishing lawbreakers, going to war, what has government done that private sector couldn't do better? You know what? I'm not even going to address this because most of the shit that it... Here, you can stop motion. You can hit the stop button and read this, but for the most part, most of this is bullshit right here. Again, garbage in, garbage out. I'm not going to repeat that. If you want to read it, you can kind of back up and just stop and read that. I'm going to shorten up this video by getting rid of the nonsense here and moving into we are bankrupt, which is absolutely the truth. I just kind of verified that with you folks out there. In the world of bankruptcy out there, what's the best thing to own out there? Well, of course, an asset that's been around for thousands of years, gold, silver, and platinum. And here's my advertising. If you're looking to buy gold, silver, and platinum, whether it's $1 worth or millions of dollars worth, we can help you here. At Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals, we've been here since 1995 in this location. I've been doing this since 1977, and we advertise to be at MaxJM and SD Bullion as well. All right, I'm done. I can't do any more advertising. I'm just blown dead tired here. So catch my, here, I'll show you at the end how you can contact me if you do want to buy gold, silver, and platinum. But meanwhile, I'd like to thank everybody for watching Monday's video, which is that we are bankrupt. Absolutely true. A couple of comments out here. New silver coin design as a manhole cover. I'd like to see that. Joe McDonald, Last Flowers. Folks, I'm really just so tired. I can't get into the comments. You know, it's one of my favorite things to do most time is answer your comments out there and answer your questions. But wow, it's what time is it right now? Eastern time, 9:30. I got to get home, get some sleep, eat something here, and get to bed. My second job of video making, I'm just blast tired right here. But thank you all you folks, Silverliner, Zane, CR Chief, Fire Pig, Sangvi, Kumar Pai, Mutha. What's up, dude? Awesome name. Hope I didn't butcher it. Well, that's it, folks. If you happen not to find me on this particular forum right here, YouTube, which I love, thank you, YouTube, for hosting my videos, you can find me on this forum right here, and I got a couple more follows out there as well. I like this forum, by the way. Lots of things you can see on this forum that you can't see on the forum that you're currently watching me on, but I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm just going to say if you don't find me on one, you can find me on the other. One day, and I have been posting videos out here. You can also find me on Twitter, man. I got another 2 viewers, 44. Thanks for the comments out there. I'd like to thank Chris Dutcher. Sent me a beautiful picture of him and his wife on their motorcycle. Chris, I suppose since you put this in public, you don't mind me showing you or showing the folks out here. Chris is a longtime listener of my show here, and also likes gold, silver, shiny things, and likes motorcycles and hot ladies. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you watching, and thanks all you folks that have hit that like button and subscribe button on YouTube, and also have hit me up on Twitter as well. That's it, man. I'm done. I'm toast, man. I got to go home and eat something and grab a shower, get to bed, and rinse and repeat and do the same thing tomorrow. Hope I can get a video out tomorrow. I haven't been so consistent, but meanwhile, thanks for keeping up with me, folks. If you're looking to buy anywhere from $1 worth to $1 million worth of gold and silver, and you're living in South Florida, visit us here at Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. Boy, you know I'm tired. In Lauderdale by the Sea, we're here 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays. Happy to help you out. We'll beat the locals here in South Florida. We'll also beat the online guys. And if you don't live in South Florida and you're not, if you don't live in South Florida and you're buying more than 100 ounces of gold, more than 1,500 ounces of silver, we do ship. We do business over the phone. We don't have a website, unfortunately. And if you're not buying that amount and you don't live in South Florida, I highly recommend you find a good local dealer. Nothing like a good local dealer, folks. Keeping that money local is an important thing to do. Well, that's it. I'm done, man. I'm out, over and out. Have a great evening, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.